y'all, how's it going? Well, I'm probably a little bit late trying to do this, but I had Randy build me a propagation box for propagating a few things. Bay Laurel, some Confederate Jasmine, and maybe a few Hydrangeas. So I want to explain first about this propagation box. I've not tried to propagate this way exactly before with a box outside stationary. I usually do it in containers, and then I'm able to wrap them in plastic, and if it's warm enough outside it works fine. Otherwise I do it indoors. But this is going to be an experiment for several months that will last through till next spring. We'll see if it works. So what I have here is a polycarbonate top. You could use glass, but we just chose that. And Randy used some scrap lumber, 2x4s. They're not connected really, except on the end. He has kind of screwed it together. I'll bring you in a little bit closer. Now, we located this up next to my greenhouse where we really don't get any sun. You don't want to be able to have direct sunshine. I noticed this morning some sun was coming in from this direction, so I'll probably stack up some buckets or make a little lean-to with some scrap plywood or something, just to ensure that we don't have direct sunlight. Direct sunlight will cook them. The growing medium is just sand. That's all that it is. And as I said, we've got 3 2x4s stacked up. Could have gone a little bit higher, but that works. And I've got about 5 to 6 inches of sand in there. Now, there will be a little bit of airflow between the wood slats, but I wanted to make sure there was even just a tiny bit more. So on these corners where he's screwed them together, there's a little bit of a gap, and then I've just added a couple of blocks here in addition to that. That's basically it. We're going to see how this experiment goes. So let's go down now and talk a little bit about the Bay Laurel bush. For the hydrangea, I want to cut in between 2 leaf nodes. So I'm going to, I could probably get 2 out of this. Now this is still semi hardwood. Take one there. Okay. I've got 3 pieces here that I can probably get 2 out of. We'll see. I'm using a powdered rooting hormone. This is by Garden Safe. It's Take Root. And so that I don't contaminate the whole jar, I've just put some in this little glass. So I'm going to come down right below a leaf node and cut it at a slant. Then I'm going to remove all the lower leaves. And I'm only going to leave 2 leaves. And these are pretty large leaves. So I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to cut them a little bit more than 50% at an angle. And the reason you're doing that is so that you don't have a lot of evaporation loss, but you still have enough of good little solar panel there for the light. Okay, with this one, again, cut below a leaf node. This one's a little on the short side. Really should have it a little bit longer, but we'll see how this does. I think I'll leave 3 leaves on this one. As short as this one is, I probably just need to use it as is. So angle below it, remove the leaves. That one's pretty small, so I'll cut this one and maybe cut that one. All right, we're going to dip in our rooting hormone. And let's go over to our box. As you can see, I've got a little filtered sunlight coming in through here, so I will have to block it. But I'll do that after I get them all in here. So, for now, I'll just move this out of the way. Now, I may end up cutting a few more. Try to pick a little bit more mature vine here. These will give us several. So again, with the Confederate Jasmine, you need at least 6 inches. So I've already cut this one right below a leaf node. I think I'll come up to about here. And do the same thing again. You're just going to strip the leaves, all but the top 2. Trim and dip. I'm going to cut a whole lot more of this Confederate Jasmine because we're wanting to plant a lot of it next spring out in front of our front fence. Okay, now we'll go get some bay laurel. Let's talk a minute about the bay laurel tree. It is a Mediterranean herb, usually grown in very arid climates. Alabama is not an arid climate. We're hot, but we have a lot of humidity. So this is going to be a little bit of an experiment also growing a bay laurel. I've always wanted to grow one because it bugs me to death when I go to the grocery store and I buy dried bay leaves, and they're so expensive and you only get a few in the little jar. So I'm going to see how this goes. Now, the bay laurel, it's said that it can grow from like zones 7 to 10. I'm in zone 8A. I have read where it can take the temperatures outside down to about 20 degrees. Don't know if that's true or not, but it is in a container, so I do have the opportunity this winter to take it inside if it gets extremely cold and put it either in a south-facing window, or I might even put it in my basement with a grow light on it. But when I bought this bay laurel, it came like this, absolutely huge. So I'm going to trim it up and save the leaves to dehydrate them. And then I'm going to attempt to try to get some of these cuttings to root. Now this crazy one out here, I don't want to eliminate it completely, but I am going to cut it way back, and I'm going to cut it in between two leaf nodes. Now one other thing I want to mention about this, the bay stems can, people with sensitive skin, it can irritate them. So when I'm actually doing the cuttings up there, I'll probably put some gloves on. I don't know if it will irritate mine, but I tend to have sensitive skin, so I'm going to do that. Now when I transplanted this, the bay laurel likes to stay pretty dry. So container growing especially, I wanted to make sure I was putting it in a grow bag so that it would drain very efficiently. And I'm just going to kind of trim this up where it's a little bit more even everywhere. You may have seen in some of my videos where I was using fresh bay leaves. I came out to pick them off of this tree. If you grow bay laurel, let me know where you are and give me some tips. But if I can get these successfully to root, next spring I'll have several cuttings that I can sell or give away or whatever. That looks better. Let's go on up top. Okay, gonna do the same thing again. Going to cut right below a leaf node at an angle. Strip the leaves. And then the rooting hormone. Silly me. I forgot to be setting my leaves aside for drying. That wasn't very smart. That's going to be a little bit long, I think, for my box. So I need to come up here. That's better. Okie dokie. To the propagation box. Now we just need to simply water it in. Now I will check these every day for moisture, but I would think for the most part, once a week, once every 2 weeks would be all that I would need in terms of moisture. But I'm watering it in really well this time. Of course, it's going to drain through that sand. And underneath the sand, I forgot to mention, we do have some landscape fabric so that we don't get roots growing up through the bottom of it. So this will be a fun little experiment. Bay leaves, bay laurel, Confederate jasmine, and some limelight hydrangea. See, now there is no sun. It's only the early morning sun that I have to worry about. Alright, I'm going to come back and check in just a few minutes and see if we've got some moisture, some humidity building up on the inside of that glass. It's not a terribly warm day, So it may not build up as much as I want, and if that's the case, I may need to just completely shut this down where the poly is directly on the glass. In review, sometimes pause, I absolutely make no sense. That did not make sense. What I meant to say was we may have to remove those braces and the little pieces of wood there and have it flat on the wood, which will require a little rearranging since Randy put those stakes up higher. So we'll give it some time, come back and check. Well, it's the next morning. Actually, yesterday afternoon, there wasn't any condensation. So I asked Randy to take off those corner braces that he had that were sticking up 1/4 of an inch. And so now the plexiglass, polycarbonate, whatever it is laying down directly on top of the wood. Now I do want to have fresh air in there, but I think between the 2x4s, it will be giving some air. Let me move this. I'm going to put those in my bucket because Cooper will take them. You can see that there is condensation. It's been 4 days now. See, we've got good condensation. It's overcast. In fact, it's fixing to rain. But I'll lift it up here. Everything looks really good. There's still plenty of moisture. This is fun.